Moving onwards with my FMP, at this point I've begun to largely focus on collecting footage for my final films. This included filming whilst cutting several people's hair. I collected this footage as in the interviews that I took with the subjects of my final portraits, Phoebe, Emma and Catherine, the topic of hair was discussed widely, and so I decided it was important to gather footage so I could get a visual representation of this to go along with the audio. I was also able to visit the National Gallery, which helped me look at more portraits and portrait artists to gather a wider perspective for my project. At the same time, I visited the Photographer's Gallery, getting even more research and inspiration. Later, back at college after the trip, I created further experiments with taking audio and visual separately by filming myself drawing Catherine from life as she completed some work. At the same time, I recorded audio of her talking on a Zoom microphone. As you can see, here are the drawing outcomes. Looking back, taking the visuals and filming the haircuts was definitely important for my final piece, as I'm pretty sure that I'm going to use this film and this footage in my project. It also helped me to work through different ideas about how I'm going to present my work, and made me realise that I do want to layer different visuals within my films. Visiting the two different galleries, the National Gallery and the... use half of this. Visiting both the National Gallery and the Photographer's Gallery helped me to create a wider perspective on different ways of creating portraits and the different portrait artists and how they use the medium. Looking at a wide array of Degas' work in the National Gallery made me think a lot about the creation of portraits where the subject appears to not be aware of the portrait being taken, where there was a large collection of Degas' work which followed this theme. Similarly, a lot of Degas' work was of people just living their everyday lives, which was something I really want to explore in my project. The idea of someone just working or going through their daily routine and being drawn or photographed or filmed even during this process, where they're not performing necessarily, they're just doing what they would be doing even if the camera wasn't on them. That's something that I really want to focus on in my project. The Photographer's Gallery was also really helpful because it included other film portraits and also a lot of photography, which is something that I personally don't have a great amount of experience with doing photography for art. I usually just use photography for documentation of things, and I haven't worked very much with photography before. So I'm definitely looking forward to pursuing photography more in my piece, and this gave me a much greater perspective on that. Going through the process of filming myself drawing and at the same time recording audio of the subject of my drawing, as I did with the drawings of Catherine that I completed, was a really interesting process and helped me think a lot about how portraits can be presented non-traditionally and how portraits can be indirect in a way, as in the film you don't see either my face or the portrait that I'm actually drawing full on. So in some ways it is a portrait because it is documenting a person, documenting something happening, and also documents the portrait in its own way, but isn't a portrait in the traditional sense, which is something that I'm very interested in exploring further. Moving forwards and coming to the end of my project, I'm mostly going to be focusing now on collecting footage for my final films, making sure I have all the audio I need, and editing these films together. Similarly, I'm probably going to create more animations to layer and other visuals so that I can create my films and have different mediums within them, such as drawings, traditional drawings, and animated segments and things like that within my films. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on going forwards.